Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Bolingbrook Village Board to order. I'd like to ask Stephen Boyles of Stephen Charles Real Estate to please come up and lead us to pledge the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steve's also a firefighter here in Bolingbrook. Roll call, please.
Mayor Claire.
Here.
Trustee Zarate.
Here.
Trustee Lawler.
Here.
Trustee Basta.
Here.
Trustee Watts.
Here.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Here.
Trustee Desquith.
Here.
Next, I have approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 23rd?
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Zarate, second trustee Lawler. Questions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Approve the agenda. I'm going to change the agenda tonight, and it'll be changed from henceforth. Some people have brought up the point that we have public comment after the public agenda's been approved. Well, first of all, I have never, in 34 years of being mayor, stopped anybody from making a public comment about an agenda item that was going to be dealt with that evening, either by phone call, email, or actually talking at a meeting. We've actually let people come up and speak while the motion is on the floor, pending approval or rejection. But anyway, if that makes some people a little happier, we're going to move the mayor's reports, or after the mayor's reports from this henceforth, we'll have the public comment. Now, it probably means we have to have a second one at the end of the meeting because public comment typically includes the press, and the press sometimes has a question about an action we took or why somebody voted a certain way. So we may have two, but the main public comment will be moved up after my report on the agenda this point forward. So is there a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
So moved. Second?
Motion,
Or
trustee.
motion? Oh. So moved.
Motion by trustee Basta, seconded trustee Zarate. Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. We have no board or commission appointments this evening, so we'll go to my report, and we have 3 proclamations this evening. The first is India's 72nd Independence Day proclamation. So, Prim Lavani, would you please join me? Prim is also a member of our Police and Fire Commissioner Board. India's 72nd Independence Day, August 16, 2019.
You want me to repeat?
No. Oh, no. We make a pretty good team sometimes. But whereas India is the world's largest democracy and shares with the United States the system in which the supreme power to govern is invested in the people, and the people of India drew upon the value of rule of law in creating representative democracy. And whereas India and the United States share a common bond of being former British colonies, and India's independence was achieved pledged to the principles of fairness, dignity, peace, and democracy. And whereas these and other ideals have forged a close bond between our two nations and their peoples, August 15, 2019 marks the anniversary and the end of the struggle which freed the Indian people from the British colonial rule. And whereas it is proper and desirable to celebrate with the Indian people and to reaffirm the democratic principles on which our two great nations were born. Now, therefore, I, Roger C. Clare, Mayor of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Bolingbrook, will in DuPage County, Illinois, do hereby proclaim August 15th as India's 72nd Independence Day, a national day of celebration of Indian American democracy in Bolingbrook, and urge all of our residents to appreciate the contributions of our Indian American community and join with them in celebrating this anniversary. Again, accepting Prim Lavani. Prim is still a very convincing individual, convinced me a handful of years ago to put together a delegation of business people and elected officials and go to visit India, which we did. It's a great time. We were very well received, and one of those trips I'll never forget. So, Prim, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. Well, August 15, I was in India at that time when we got the independence. My father was a freedom fighter. He knew Gandhi and all those people. He was in jail 3 times for the independence movement. And he was part of it. And I remember when he was in 42 August, he was arrested, and Gandhi was arrested 1 day earlier, 9. My father was arrested August 10 for the freedom. And I remember we used to go and visit him in the jail every 2 weeks. And I feel very proud that I was part of the independence movement, and my family also.
Our next proclamation is Pakistani Independence Day, but Prem has an unusual circumstance. What country were you born in? God, we'll go, Mike.
I was born in British India.
And then, what happened?
Then we got the independence, and the India was partitioned between India and Pakistan. So where I was born became Pakistan. So we moved to India. We were in India, we moved to India.
They don't often get along quite so well, India and Pakistan, there, but they do here. Is that a fair statement? Yeah. So I thought people might enjoy that. Thanks, Prem. Our next Pakistani Independence Day, I ask Talat Rashid to please join me.
You got 2 more Pakistanis.
Pakistan Independence Day, August 24th, 2019. Whereas August 14th, 1947, it was Pakistani Independence Day. To celebrate their 72nd anniversary, the Pakistani American community in the village of Bolingbrook holds several activities during the month of August, which includes cultural festivals, symposiums, a parade, and many more events to share in the pride and joy with fellow citizens. And whereas this year, the Association of Pakistani Americans of Bolingbrook will be celebrating its 28th anniversary of the annual flag-raising ceremony. And whereas the Pakistani American community in the village of Bolingbrook is productive, hardworking, and strives to make positive contributions toward the progress and development of the village in many fields, especially in medicine, science, and education. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize these efforts and to share in the commemorating the principles of independence, self-determination, liberty, and values that are shared by the United States and all free nations. And therefore, I rise to declare, Mayor of the Board of Trustees, the village of Bolingbrook, Willing DuPage County, Illinois, to hereby proclaim August 24, 2019, as Pakistani Independence Day in the village, and urge all of our residents to appreciate the contribution of the Pakistani American community to join with them in celebrating this anniversary. Accepting is Talat Rashid, the first active member of the Association of Pakistani Americans I met. Since then, I've been introduced to others, and I'll let Talat reintroduce those people, but all 3 of these gentlemen are involved in our village government. Talat is on our Police and Fire Commissioner Board. Well, I'll let you do the introductions. Talat, would you like to make those introductions and introduce your associates?
I have with me Mir Ali, Chairman Plan Commission, and then we have Mr. say your name? Abdul, and he is on Planning and Zoning Board. Thank you, Roger Claire, Mayor. We are celebrating our Independence Day. This is our 29th year flag hoisting ceremony, and that is a record in the USA. None of the states had ever done this, and we're doing it continuously. Again, our thanks to Village of Bolingbrook, Police Department, Fire Department, and all the other related departments that helped us out to celebrate this. It's on 24th Saturday. Please join us. Try our food, culture, and enjoy. We have a musical program, but I don't think you'll understand that. But you can just join us and see the culture. Thank you, Roger, again, for helping us every year.
What do you mean? You don't think I like Pakistani music?
I mean, you will like the music, but not the wording of it. I don't even understand that or not. You were there.
Sorry, we don't. Thanks for coming tonight, gentlemen. Thank you. The next proclamation is Bolingbrook Jubilee, August 16th through the 18th, this weekend here in Bolingbrook. And accepting will be Kathy Donnelly, who is Vice Chair of the Civic Cultural Affairs and Parade Commission. And I would like to add, she'll be sorely missed, but she has stepped down as a member of the Civic and Cultural Affairs and Parade Commission with a job change, isn't it? You're looking to relocate?
Yeah.
Anyway, going to be moving out of Bolingbrook soon, and she's been a very hard worker at various functions. I worked with Kathy on a number of things here in Bolingbrook over the years, not just with the Civic and Cultural Affairs Commission, but a very active member of the community. We hate to see you move on.
You're gonna miss it.
The proclamation. Whereas the Village of Bolingbrook was incorporated October 6, 1965, and 2019 is our 54th birthday or anniversary of incorporation. The Jubilee is sponsored by the Village of Bolingbrook and the Bolingbrook J.C.'s, and the fun-filled festival is planned for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Whereas there will be entertainment on the Performing Arts Center stage every night, starting with the Lotus Kings, a Santana tribute band. The Deacon Blues on Saturday will showcase the Everly Brothers, Heart to Heartbreaker, and the Chicago Experience. In the evening on Sunday, we'll celebrate the end of the festival with our headline bands, the Cover Girls Violin Show, a Shining Star, which does Earth, Wind, and Fire music, and American English, which do Beatles music. And whereas local food vendors will be available in selections such as Italian beef, Texas Max egg rolls, Italian ice, funnel cakes, burritos, well, about anything you might want. We have all the junk food covered. And more selections. And whereas the J.C. Carnival and Bingo runs Friday from 6 to 10 p.m., Saturday 1 to 10, Sunday 1 to 10, and on Sunday the Summer Cruise Classic Car Show will run from 10 to 3, and on Sunday the Bolingbrook's Arts and Crafts Show and Family Fun events will be held from noon to 6. And whereas the Bolingbrook Park District, Allegra Printing, and Beta Zone, Walmart, and Home Depot would enhance this year's event with their generosity. Now, therefore, I rise to declare, Mayor of the Board of Trustees, Village of Bolingbrook, Will DuPage County, Illinois, hereby proclaim Bolingbrook Jubilee Week, August 16th through 18th, in the village, and urge all of our residents to join with their family and friends and neighbors to join the music-filled event. And as you notice, you drove in, the carnival is being set up as we speak in front. The Jubilee is in back, and we have a beautiful stage in back where all the entertainment will take place. Would you like to say a few words?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a few more notes. He said the hours already. There will be additional parking if you need it over at Brooks Middle School. There will be a shuttle provided. He said the carnival hours and the Jubilee hours, there will be wristbands available, $25 from 1 to 5 p.m. Also, the craft show, if you are a crafter, we're still taking applications. There's plenty of room back there. We bring in a lot of events to pull in customers for you. It's a family fun day, jumpers and the petting zoo, and let's see, the Home Depot's going to be out there for building kits for people, and yeah, I believe that's it. Thank you all, and I hope everybody comes out. It's a great, great weekend, and I'm going to miss Bolingbrook.
Okay, now we have a couple of promotions. Let's learning in. First of all, in the fire department. So I'd like to ask Trinidad Garza to please join me, along with Ken Temple, Director of Public Safety, and the Police and Fire Commissioners. And last, but certainly not least, a little drum roll. Dave Butcher and his family to please join me.
Don't be shy.
Come on up, Dad, you gotta be here. There's room for all of you. Can we move on over? You know these people?
Most of them.
They know you?
Pretty well, actually.
Would you like to introduce them?
Sure, this is my father, Dwayne, flew in today. My daughter, Katie, is going away to Ui Pui this weekend. My stepdaughter, Michelle. My wife, Susan. Stepdaughter, Allie. Her boyfriend, Matthew. Daughter, Molly. And her boyfriend, Zen.
Where is she going this weekend?
Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis.
You call that,
Ooey Pooey, that's what they call it.
gotta be proud of that.
Pride in their face.
Dave has been a member of the Bolingbrook Fire Department for 25 years. He received an associate's degree from Andrews University in Michigan in building technology and a bachelor's degree in fire science management from Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. Dave is firefighter 3, fire officer 2, hazmat technician, structural collapse technician, and rope technician. He's a member of the Mavis Division 16 Technical Rescue Team. In his spare time, David enjoys photography, working on his Jeep, and spending time with his family. Oh, there's other things there, too. You left some off.
There was enough time, sir.
There's not time. Before I swear you in, I want to introduce the Police and Fire Board members are with us tonight. The Police and Fire Board consists of 7 individuals that do all the interviewing and of fire and police officers. This is created by state statute. They put in literally hundreds of hours of work doing interviews of all the candidates that apply, doing the testing, supervising the psychologicals and other issues. The chair of that board is Major Jones, member Prem Lavani, introduced earlier, but again a member, Palat Rashid a member, and Sandra Balastamo. I get that right? Also a member. So thanks for coming out this evening. All right, David, raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
I, David Butcher,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the municipal code of the Village of Bolingbrook,
Municipal Code of the Village of Bolingbrook,
and I will faithfully discharge my duties
and I will faithfully discharge my duties
as a lieutenant of the Bolingbrook Fire Department
as Lieutenant with the Bolingbrook Fire Department,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability,
and as prescribed by state law.
as prescribed by state law.
Oh. Congratulations. Oh,
Yeah, just for,
oh, what?
don't flip your finger.
Not Mike, are we?
Tough, isn't it, Barry?
Not going anywhere. You might want to say, well, thanks, folks. Thanks for coming out tonight. Thank you. That happy. Are you happy? Where's the plan from? Oh, Paragon. Oh. Okay. Oh, thanks for doing up with that. Appreciate it. Next, I'd like to ask Officer Jonathan Schurer to please join me, along with his family. Would you like to introduce your family?
I would. All right, we got my dad here, Dave Schurer, my brother, fellow officer David Schurer, my mother, Tammy, sister Simone, my grandmother, Kathy, my grandfather, Dave, grandmother, or Rich, sorry, grandfather, Dave, and my grandmother, Pat. In the still seating, we got Dale's in the crowd there. He's been like an uncle to me since I was just a little guy. And then we got my college roommate, Bryce DeSpain, over there.
Thanks for coming tonight. You know him well, huh? Dave, come here a minute. I know this is about your son tonight, but yeah, you're Dave. So, how long were you an officer, Bolingbrook?
30 years, 4 months, and 2 days.
What are you doing now, by the way?
Whatever I want.
So, I'm sure it's happened before. I'm sure you read, there's lots of shows about Chicago Police Department, people through the generations are firefighters or police officers. So what do you think about having two sons that are police officers?
Well, it's kind of funny. Part of it scares the hell out of me, and part of it I couldn't be any more proud. I don't feel there's any more important position to hold in our society than being a police officer. When you sit down and you think about all we depend on them for, it's actually pretty incredible. So I'm proud of them.
Well, I'm sure I know you know, but police officers across the country are getting beat up a lot the last few years. There are lots of reasons.
Literally.
So, yeah, literally, and some fair and some are just absolutely across the line. It's just totally out of line. I mean, I watched the news a few weeks ago, and people in Chicago were throwing water on police officers trying to do their job. I'm not so sure I would have been as nice as they were if I were a police officer.
Back in the day, I can say, agree. It's a difficult time. It really is.
Very difficult. Anyway, I just want to say I got two sons, one in the police department, so I mean, I'm sure that being proud is more than the scary part.
Oh, for sure.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
thanks for coming out. Well, I knew you'd be here. Jonathan Schur, age 22, graduated from Oswego East High School in 2015. And from Memorial University in May of 2019, where he earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Jonathan currently resides in Plainfield, and in his free time he enjoys playing baseball, golfing, and cars. Officer Schur is attending the Cook County Sheriff's Police Academy, and upon graduation will be assigned to a field training officer to begin his patrol duties. He's been, oh, you put it over.
Fire one side, please.
I see, okay. You've been assigned badge number 1220, and you can pin your own on. Oh, I got to swear you in, yeah. I raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Jonathan Schur,
You solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
Will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
Municipal Code of the Village of Bolingbrook.
Municipal Code of the Village of
I
Bolingbrook,
will faithfully discharge my duties
and will faithfully discharge my
as a
duties
police officer,
as a police officer
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my
in
ability,
a manner prescribed by law.
in a manner prescribed by law.
And we'll do it again. Okay.
It's always good.
Oh, I didn't see you. That's okay. You see Dave? Come on, Franz, sometime. Call me. You gotta keep bugging me. I know. Okay. Trustee Maria Zarate wanted to make an announcement under her trustee comments, but we have a member of the public that also wanted to make a comment, and it's about the same issue. So, Maria, would you please start out?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mexican Independence Day will be coming up. It's a wonderful event to come to, and it's going to be held here in Bolingbrook. It's going to be Saturday, September 14th. It's a wonderful event. There's a lot of vendors and dancing and bands. And the SEMA organization puts this together, so it's a great event. Come on out, come for the vendors. They're going to be selling a lot of great stuff from Mexico. So and a lot of Mexican food, of course. So we're very excited. This is their second year that they'll be hosting it here at in Bick Village Hall. So I have Chuy here. And Chuy's going to say a couple of words in Spanish.
Chuy, come on up, please. Chuy Serna, longtime resident.
Well, let me start. I would say thank you to all of you for the support for the community, and thank you, Mayor. You have a wonderful diversity community that you are supporting, and that means a lot to us. Why Del Grito is not just small event. This means traditions for us, for our families, our kids, and we want to show you what's our traditions, what's our food, what we do, and our colorful environment that we have and we bring to you. So we want to say thank you. We will have, for the Spanish people that is looking us in the TV, quiero invitarlos para que vengan y disfruten del Día del Grito el 14 de septiembre, sábado. Traigan a toda su familia y que no olvidemos nuestras raíces. It's very important for our kids and for us not to forget where we come from. So we always have to treat others the way we are educated and how you guys open the doors for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joey. And again, for those who continue to say we don't celebrate our diversity, there you see it. Members of our Police and Fire Board, our governmental structure, our celebrations, our proclamations, speaks for itself. Next, before we go into the public comment, I would like to ask Director of Public Safety, Ken Teppel, to make a few comments, not a few, a report. The public comments are being given. There were a number of people posted on Facebook today about the proposed ordinance to ban cannabis from Bolingbrook, and I want to know why they couldn't speak. Well, they're going to get a chance to speak in a minute, but I wanted Ken Temple to speak first, which will outline a lot of the reasons and some people's thoughts about the issue.
Thank you. Mayor, Village Board, those here today, it should come as absolutely no surprise that I and we at the Police Department are strongly against a cannabis dispensary in Bolingbrook. Colorado was the first state in the nation to legalize recreational cannabis and its edibles in 2012. Since then, the District of Columbia and 10 more states followed suit. Now, Illinois is the second most populous state next to California to allow recreational cannabis starting January 1, 2020. So all states with legal recreational cannabis are experiencing similar social issues, but Colorado, since being the first, seems to be the most studied. So according to Colorado's legalization of marijuana and the impact on public safety, a study published by the Police Foundation and the Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police, many issues have presented themselves to public safety since 2012. The legalization has created numerous problems for law enforcement in Colorado, especially Denver. Marijuana is a cash-based business in and of itself due to federal regulations that still classify marijuana and its derivatives as a Schedule I controlled substance. And federal Treasury banking guidelines prohibit federally insured banking institutions from doing business with cannabis operations. Denver has seen higher rates of burglaries to marijuana dispensaries in comparison to other businesses. Criminals have been targeting dispensaries and their clients as they know they have large amounts of cash. Even legal couriers have been targeted for cash and product while transporting. An all-cash business also hampers police investigations without a paper trail, so to say, and makes it easier to launder money and blur the lines between the legal sales and the illegal sales. While crime stats, yes, have gone down for possession of cannabis in those states, statistics continue to rise in property crimes such as burglary and theft, and in personal crimes such as identity theft, robbery, and assault. Denver also reports an increase in homelessness of adults and juveniles due to the availability of marijuana. They hope to find work in the industry, but due to limited availability of jobs and due to background checks, many turn to the gray and black markets for employment, turn to theft, or even turn to panhandling to support themselves. The gray market, which is considered legal cultivators or processors selling secondhand, and the black market is thriving in Colorado by unregulated grow operations, and they undercut the sale price of legitimate cannabis. Legal cannabis is taxed so high that purchasers turn to the gray and black markets for cheaper cannabis, or they grow their own. These illegal markets usually set up around legal dispensaries where they know purchasers are going to be headed and concentrated. Legal purchasers are also targets for thefts and robberies due to the cash they carry on themselves. Another problem that's created is home hash oil labs. They create a threat of explosion and fire. So hash oil is made by using flammable chemical solvents to extract the delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol oil which is the psychoactive compound in cannabis, commonly referred to as THC, and they take it and they concentrate it. It can be purchased, but it is much cheaper to make at home with whole plant material, and instructions are easily found on the internet. Denver experienced 9 hash oil explosions in 9 months and had to pass an ordinance restricting unlicensed hash oil extractions within their boundaries. Another problem are edibles. Edibles are any consumable food product injected with hash oil. The most common are candies, cookies, brownies, gummies, most often gummy bears. The THC levels are listed on the packaging, but ingestion takes much longer than inhalation. So the users may continue to eat more of those edibles, eventually reaching a toxic level of THC in the body. Police in Colorado have seen an increase in psychoactive episodes resulting in hospitalizations, suicides, and even homicides under the influence. These edibles appear very similar, if you look at them, if not exactly the same, to non-cannabis infused products. So you put 2 gummy bears next to each other, they look exactly the same. And you got to ask yourself why and who are they marketing that product to. And this is not the marijuana of the 60s, 70s, and 80s that we kind of grew up with. THC back then was in the 3 to 8% range in the plants. The good stuff was around 10%. The marijuana today starts around 10% and can top out at 35 to 38%, is actually taxed based upon the percent of THC in the product. Today's marijuana is highly psychoactive and addictive, and it's not the harmless ditch weed that of yesterday. So lastly, I'll touch on one of the larger ones that we're concerned about, and that's operating a motor vehicle while impaired under marijuana. There is no validated roadside test that is accepted for cannabis impairment. For alcohol, we have what we're called the standardized field sobriety test. Most of us knows that, you know, the walk and turn, stand on one leg, that kind of stuff. There is no breathalyzer. There's no PBT, portable breath test, that we can bring out on the scene and you can blow into and it'll tell us what the THC level is in the driver. The only test currently accepted and available is a blood or body fluid draw. These are highly invasive and require medical personnel to administer. The test is costly, between $150 to $200, and can take 4 to 6 weeks to get the results back from a private lab. In Illinois, the threshold is set at 5 nanograms or more of THC in whole blood. So if the driver tests above that, it is considered, the driver is considered under the influence of cannabis. But some issues with that is cannabis can take up to 28 days to metabolize in the body and leave, if you will. And with that, that creates more questions as far as prosecuting that. So the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police, the Illinois Sheriff's Association, all the local police and sheriff's associations in Illinois, including the Will County Chiefs of Police and the DuPage County Chiefs of Police, were opposed to the legalization to recreational cannabis. That train has long left the station, and legal recreational cannabis is coming in 2020. With that being said, we believe that there is no reason to bring the aforementioned issues associated with the usage and dispensaries and the ease of access of that product to the village of Bolingbrook. Thank you.
We also have tonight Bert Olson, the Olson Stirk Law Firms here. And Bert, would you comment about the trailer bill or any other thoughts you might have?
In my office, we have a state rep who's a lawyer and works for us. Her name's Kelly Burke. She's in the majority leadership in the House. She's told me that come end of October, there'll be a trailer bill, a bill to trail on to this current legislation to try to clean up some of the discrepancies, some of the holes that face implementation of this new law. In the rush to get this passed, along with all of the other legislation of this last General Assembly, not enough time was spent, in particular in the law enforcement side of the bill. The law enforcement people that I've spoken to including the representative, fear that we're going to have great problems enforcing the driving while under the influence, as well as being in the store, being at home. There is a myriad of issues that are not addressed in the bill, which will cause law enforcement a big problem. It's going to make a good number of lawyers happy because there'll be a lot of criminal defense work going on, but it's not going to make the police and the community very happy. So I can tell you there'll be more coming as far as cleaning up this legislation, but in the meantime, as the director said, starting January 1st, when it becomes legal and hits the streets, the police are going to have to, and local government is going to have to deal with it in some fashion. There's also an aspect to the bill in regards to how it's advertised, and there's all sorts of restrictions on advertising. There's restrictions on where they can go. The bill is half full of restrictions. The taxation in the bill isn't all what it's made out to be. For the state it may be, not for local communities. Local communities who have dispensaries only get 3%. The other portions of the revenue go to the state, and then the state's dividing it amongst numerous agencies. There's a lot of social issues put into the bill. There's a lot of implementation of different programs. It's going to be a nightmare until and if it ever gets straightened out. We're the first state, I believe, to actually enact the legalization of cannabis by legislation. Other states have done it by referendums and by court cases. There's a lot of work to do, and from the law enforcement side, I'm happy that I think the village board's going to take a stand tonight, as other communities have already. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Just a few comments and we'll bring people up. First, ladies and gentlemen, this is all about money. You know, people talk about it's good for recreation, it's good for this, I enjoy it, and that's all true. But for government, it's all about money. And I've gotten like 3 emails over this in the last couple of days. And they're basically said, we should grab the tax money. First of all the money that's collected through cannabis the state collects, 8% of that is going to come back to municipalities through what's called the Local Government Distributive Fund, LGDIF. And 8% of that money is going to go into that pool and will come back to us on a per capita basis. So we will get money from cannabis being sold throughout the state. There are going to be, I believe, around 500 licenses issued. There's 1,200 cities in the state of Illinois. Others, I'm sure, will take it. Naperville has indicated they are not. I know there's some other suburban communities that are not, and I know there's some other suburban communities that are. But the ones that are doing it about money. It's all about money. The police costs, nobody knows, and nobody can say what it's going to be. And as Director of Public Safety Teppel said, there's no question. In this country, somebody will come up with some device that will measure this. How, I don't know, and when, I don't know. But I can tell you when they do, it will not be an inexpensive way to do that. And all those costs are being dumped on local government to pay for that equipment and install it in multiple squad cars and go through the enforcement and deal with the paperwork. It's 100% of the police associations in this state are opposed to it, and the General Assembly ignored that. And as admitted by, as Attorney Olson said, they are going to try and pass a trailer bill this year to make some of them happy. How that will come out, I don't know, but the fall session is not very long to come up with a real solution. And of course, one thing we'll deal with, it'll be not in my backyard. We were to put, say, authorize a cannabis store in XYZ strip mall or shopping center, there'll be those say, I don't want that here. I want it, but I don't want it here. Put it over there, or put it over here. That would come into play also. And lastly, and personally, philosophically, well, first of all, if you want to buy fireworks, you can go to Indiana and buy them. If you want to buy marijuana, you can go to a number of other cities in the general area and buy it. But I philosophically have a real problem with government who has turned to drugs and gambling to balance their budgets. That's what the states come to. The 2 major bills came out of the spring session. We're expanding gambling from 10 to 16 casinos. hundreds of other enticements, racinos. So we go to gambling and we go to drugs to balance our budget. And I can simply say to some people who think that's a great idea, what's next? Because you know they'll go through this money in the next 2 to 3 or 4 years, and then what are they going to tax? Kind of run out of things to tax. I could make a few comments about what would be next, but it wouldn't be appropriate. But the reality is, so we're going to run government on gambling and drugs. Kind of reminds me of the old movie, A Wonderful Life. Kind of reminds me of Pottersville. That's what happened when Jimmy Stewart left the movie in Pottersville, gambling and drugs. And we have a community we call a place to grow. We don't have video poker, and we don't have, well, I don't know what we'll have. We'll see the vote. All right, anybody that'd like to speak? I would appreciate if you'd introduce yourself, but you don't really have to. So come on up.
Good evening, Mayor, Board. My name is Norman Brown, longtime resident of Bolingbrook. Out of curiosity, as I understand it, there is a dispensary currently operating in Romeoville. Is that right?
I don't know.
My question is, if that's true, what is their experience with a dispensary?
That's medical.
Yeah.
That's medical.
Right.
This isn't recreational. We're talking
But it will be.
recreational.
They will probably, if it is.
Well, I can't predict the future any more than you can, Norm. I mean, it maybe it will be, but right now it's medical, and medical dispensaries are a different issue.
Okay, although I do think it's somewhat short-sighted to not consider, and I understand all the social ills, to consider the potential tax revenue generated. I understand that. I understand what you're saying as far as public safety also, but I do think it's sort of short-sighted to not consider.
Well, whatever happens tonight isn't forever. But until they get some of these issues resolved, I think I'm opposed to it, and I think others are too.
Okay. Well, I just want to say my piece.
But how far do you go for more money?
Well, we have gambling, we have liquor stores.
Liquor's been around for 50 years. That doesn't mean we'd have to continue down that trail.
Right. So, okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Otis Gatlin. I've lived in Bolingbrook for 14 years. First time speaking at a public hearing, so bear with me here. Just to cite what the public director indicated, the Colorado Department of Justice did a study of 2018 that indicated that crime did go down in every category when marijuana legalization was passed. I just read that. Please feel free to review that. It's on colorado.gov. I did write a statement just to, in the interest of time, to let you know why I feel about marijuana legalization. Thank you, Bolingbrook trustees, for your time. My name is Otis Gatlin. I lived in Bolingbrook for 14 years. As we all know, cannabis will be legal for recreational use starting in 2020. And I believe Bolingbrook should be in the forefront for having a safe, legal, and regulated cannabis industry in our village. For the record, I have never used cannabis, nor do I have a financial interest in cannabis. But I believe we as a community can regulate this drug just like we do with tobacco sales, alcohol sales. The world's biggest drug, caffeine, is also taxed and regulated. And Lord knows where would we be without our coffee. I don't want dispensaries around our schools, libraries, or government buildings. And I believe responsible use of recreational cannabis should be for adults 21 and older. Reuters.com had an article in August of 2018 that indicated that 1 in 7 adults consume cannabis. That translates to about 10,000 residents in Bolingbrook, give or take. I've rushed about every trustee meeting this year, and I know, Mr. Mayor, there is a much sales tax opportunity for our village that comes with this industry. I believe with proper and fair enforcement from our inspectors and police department, can make sure that cannabis doesn't get into the wrong hands, literally and figuratively. I just visited Las Vegas in April of this year, where they just legalized cannabis, and the results ease my concerns with legalization. And I hope our community will do the same in the future, and not lose this budding industry to our neighboring cities.
Budding?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Otis.
Good evening, everyone. Joe Jamanco, local residents. I want to first start by thanking you. For my entire time in Bolingbrook, as I've looked at agendas, I've been critical and I've voiced my criticism of not having public comments at this point in the meeting. Thank you very much for moving them. I think that makes a big difference for residents, so thank you for doing that. I want to make two comments. The first one, I want to revisit something that I mentioned last week, and then I want to talk about the cannabis issue. The issue about House counsel and legal fees, I brought this up last meeting. I discussed it. I quoted the numbers from the last 5 years, which exceeded $1 million in each year. The minutes that are before you today from the last meeting cite the numbers that Mr. Bone gave you, which did not include all the expenses for each year. I want to make sure that it's understood that the legal expenses for just the past 5 years have been over $1 million each year, the lowest being $1.05 million, the highest being $1.2 million. And in the past 9 years, there's been $9,252,000 spent in legal fees. I mentioned this last meeting. I suggested if anybody wanted to discuss it with me, Ms. Bassa spoke to me very briefly about it, and I've talked with Mr. Jaskowitz about it, but nobody else expressed any interest. The reason why I think this is important is because I've also done a series of FOIAs over the past few months, and I would ask, other than Mr. Bowen, can any trustee tell me what the legal fee agreement is that you have with Mr. Bowen's firm? Because I can't explain it to you. As an attorney, and from the FOIAs I've done, you cannot figure it out. And that's beyond me. Some hours are retainer-based, some are hourly, and frankly, it's preposterous that as a citizen of this city and a taxpayer, that I, as an attorney, I can't figure out what the fee agreement is. That's crazy when we're talking about $9 million in the past 9 years. So I'd really ask you to reconsider that. Now, the big topic, of course, for tonight is that of cannabis. I wanted to come tonight to tell you about what I've been hearing from a lot of people. I do not for a second pretend that Facebook is a good measure of the community, but it is a means for people to be vocal about what they think. I'm sure some of you have seen, I posted a poll in 2 different places in a couple different Facebook groups that are specific to Bolingbrook, asking whether or not this board should pass a ban on cannabis-based businesses. In one of those polls, 85% said no, do not pass a ban. In the other poll, 96% said do not pass a ban.
How many people was that?
In one poll, 80, this is posted yesterday, 87 said allow it, and 15 said do not allow it, and the other one, 126, said allow it, and 5 said don't allow it.
Were some of those potentially on both polls?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm not telling you it's scientific, but if you look at the comments, the vast majority say do not ban it. That's what your citizens are saying, the majority of them. And while I respect what Director Teppel said, every single thing that you cited is going to happen no matter whether you ban it or not in Bolingbrook. You're still going to have it. The things that are illegal as far as manufacturing and concentrating THC in your home are still going to be illegal, whether or not you ban businesses or not. What you're going to do is you're going to stifle business growth in Bolingbrook for those industries and make residents drive further, which will also mean it's more likely that they're going to spend more time on the road if they are using when they're not supposed to. The issues as far as DUIs and things, those are real legitimate issues. There's a lot of issues with it. But we're going to have those issues no matter what. Those are arguments that were best brought to the state legislature before they passed it. Now it's not an issue that's for this body to determine. If the trailer bill that's going to follow is going to address it, great. That's where it should be addressed. Here locally, it's purely a question of economics and whether or not you're going to allow a business to operate or not. The majority of the residents think that you should, and I'd ask you to consider that.
Anyone else?
That's something to say right there.
Wait.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Board. My name is Carl Jefferson, and I've been a resident of Bolingbrook for over 10 years. And the people I talk to definitely do not want marijuana in the village. Being a business owner, I see the use of marijuana every day because I'm working on houses. You get more break-ins, so it's naturally it's great for me, but it's more work. You get more people with different things in their homes. These people scope these homes out to go break into them so they can have the money, because they don't have jobs, to buy the marijuana. So that's going to bring more crime to Bolingbrook. We don't need dispensaries anywhere near our schools. Technically, as far as I'm concerned, people I speak to, they don't even want it in the village. If I go by this gentleman's numbers that people wanted, that's less than 1% of the people in Bolingbrook. So, Mayor, I hope you and the board really consider not passing for sales of marijuana in Bolingbrook. Because as the chief says, we have people impaired driving. That's bad for our kids, that's bad for our community. We just don't need it. And I want to thank everyone for their time and taking the time to listen to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jefferson.
Good evening, Mayor Claire and trustees. Thank you, Ken, for all the facts that you shared with us. My name is Ryan Lawrence. I am the Executive Director for Heart Haven Outreach, a youth outreach mentoring and support program here that we primarily focus on Valley View School District. And we do a lot of work inside the schools in Valley View high schools and middle schools, and most of the groups that we work with are behavior, social, emotional based. And at this moment, I don't know when the next time it is you all get to vote again on making this a law in our town. Is this something you get to revisit?
We could vote on it the next meeting.
Okay. Which I assumed that, and I say, like, right now, I don't think there's enough being said inside of our schools and with our kids for us to say as a village that, hey, this is okay, because we have a lot of children and youth who are very impressionable, and to hear that this is something that's allowed and that's legal, and we don't know as a community, as schools, as people working in the schools, what that means when we're addressing it with the kids. I just don't think it's the right time for it. I would love for us to come together as a community and start discussing this, if this is something that makes sense. But before we involve the schools, the teachers there, the deans, the counselors, those people who are working with these students, the social workers, I think that's a better time to say to our kids, this is something that we're ready for. I just think that right now we have such a great community of a place where kids are able to grow and feel supported and safe, that doing this right now is not a good decision for those kids and that impression that they're going to get from it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
My name is Jackie Randall, and I do not think that we should have a dispensary here. First of all, if we do, where's the man going to be in the car? He's going to be sitting right out there. If you had a choice of buying something that is taxed, or go to the man that's sitting in the car and buy something that isn't taxed, what would you do? Be realistic. You're going to buy it from the man in the car.
Well, we do have cars.
I mean, you're going to walk up to the car, hand the man whatever it costs, and you're going to walk away with whatever he's going to give you in the bag. You're going to go in that dispensary, they're going to charge you taxes, you're going to pay for that, more than what that man is going to charge you. What are you getting? And I heard that they're going to ask you for an ID. Do you think somebody that's smoking marijuana wants to give their ID to somebody? That's going to let everybody in the world know. John Doe smokes and he lives at 123 Wacker. Come on. That's not going to work out well. I hope the board does not pass it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'd like to make one clarification. Joe, page 10 of the minutes has nothing to do with legal fees in the state of the village. The only legal fees that are mentioned here are legal fees that came from other communities off of their websites. So the minutes stand as they are, as corrected. This had nothing to do with your statement or any legal fees incurred in the Village of Bolingbrook.
All right, go back to bill approval. Exhibit A, $1,541,182.43. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion trustee Watts, second trustee Chazowitz. Questions, comments? Hearing none. Oh, no, excuse me. Exhibit B, $189,106.17, or a total of $1,730,288.60. Motion second still stand, I assume. Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Next, a motion approving a low bid from Denier, Inc. for a 2019 fiberized crack filling program. Funny we'd have that on tonight's agenda. Various streets in the amount of $216,700. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Boston, second trustee Lawler. Questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Only resolution this evening is a resolution approving the purchase of a vehicle for the Vanny Chevrolet for use in the police department. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion trustee
Second.
Carpenzano, second trustee Basta. Cost is $21,884.80. Again, purchased here in Bolingbrook for use in the police department. Money coming from federal forfeiture funds are what's being used to pay for this. Public Safety Committee has reviewed and approves. Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes.
First ordinance this evening is ordinance amending the municipal code of the Village of Bolingbrook by the addition of Chapter 29, Article 3-106, prohibiting cannabis business establishments. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion trustee Lawler, second trustee Watts. Discussion.
Just very quickly, can I make a comment?
Sure. That's what discussion.
So, first of all, I'd like to thank members of the community that came up and actually attended and discussed this topic. My main concern, and I think I echo that of Mr. Lawrence, is the youth in our community. Money does not make a difference when it comes to our youth and the future of our youth. And for us to legalize something or say it's okay for adults to consume something that's hazardous to their health is just, to me, giving a contradictory example. I think later on down the line, this is not engraved in stone. This is something that we will be able to change, I'm assuming, correct? This is something that could be revised, changed, updated, upgraded further down the line when we see what happens with other communities and see how it advances in legislation. But right now, I do approve this ordinance. So, again, thank you to those that attended tonight's meeting. We do appreciate the feedback and encourage that on a regular basis. Thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Jaskowitz.
You know, I think we witnessed tonight that there's a lot of sides to this issue, both pro and cons, and I appreciate Director Teppel's summary of the police stance and where we're at with this. I also want us to consider other points of why a dispensary is probably a good thing. And whether we do or do not have it, I think the mistake we're making is by not having a public hearing prior to taking a vote on this. Only because I think it will educate everyone on either side, what the pros and cons are. One question I have, and maybe you can answer this, it's illegal to have cannabis in the Village of Bolingbrook. Now, let's just say Romeoville does pass the law, our residents go there to buy that. How hard are we going to enforce that if we catch our residents with cannabis across the border? Or is it going to be considered illegal?
It's not illegal to have a cannabis, it's just illegal to have a business.
Well,
You can have it,
it's
you just
illegal
can't
to
have a
smoke it
business.
and have it here
No,
too, isn't
no.
it?
After January 1st.
You can
it's
smoke
legal.
it. You can grow
Our
it.
municipal code doesn't say that.
You can grow after January 1st.
It's approved by the state.
It's approved by the state. You just
That's
can't have
done.
a business and sell it.
Okay, so they can go anywhere they want, and they'll be okay with that. All right. The other reason I think a dispensary is good is because of all the rules and regulations surrounding that. When you, Jackie talked about, buying it from somebody in the car, you don't know what you're buying. The dispensaries are going to be monitored closely. What's in there is not going to be contaminated, or supposedly not contaminated. People take a big chance buying drugs in the black market. And if our citizens are going to use it, be it good, upstanding citizens, and they want to be able to smoke cannabis or use cannabis and edibles or whatever way possible in their home, they should be able to know that they're buying quality stuff and good stuff and not have to take a chance on the black market, deal with those people, take a chance of being robbed while you're buying it, those kinds of things. There's a lot of issues when you buy stuff on the black market versus having a legal dispensary to buy this type of stuff from. So I am would like us to consider that, but I think the biggest thing I would like to see us do today is postpone the vote on this ordinance until we do have a public hearing. So I would like us to consider that and maybe schedule one, and then we can actually hear both sides from our residents, see how many residents are for and against. Mr. Temple can give his presentation again, talking about the concerns of law enforcement and so on, and we can hear from all sides, so.
Well, as pointed out, 11 states have approved this. 10 of them, according to Director of Safety Public Temple, had referendums. Illinois, which is, as you well know, who controls the General Assembly, chose to ignore the public and pass it without having a state referendum, like the other 10 states did. So that may be something you should take up with your House and Senate members. And I want to make it clear, even though you didn't understand the law, this does not restrict the use of cannabis. It just means there will be no retail stores in Bolingbrook selling cannabis. Dispensaries, the word dispensary is typically associated with medical dispensaries. That's state licensed. That is not our jurisdiction. So dispensaries for medical will exist wherever they're approved by the state to exist. This is strictly somebody that wants to smoke a joint or have a gummy bear or whatever other kinds of products, candy bars, whatever. There's a variety of them. So that's not being banned, Bob. I know you thought this was banning the use of marijuana in town. No, that's not that bold by any means. So having a referendum, I know there was a lot on the internet the last couple of days. 6 people came, according to my count. 3 people spoke for it, 3 opposed to it. A poll was done of 80 people out of 76,000 people responded. I mean, it's not scientific, I understand that, but I'm not sure if that would accomplish other than just delay it. And frankly, I'm anxious to see the Trader bill and see what they come up with to solve some of these problems we've expressed concern about. They admit that, and of course it troubles me too when one of the chief sponsors of the bill, partner or spouse, gets a job as a vice president of one of the firms that's going to be doing business and think that's okay. So that's a little questionable too, in my opinion. But I guess it's legal, it's just suspect to get a vice president of a company after the chief sponsor passes a bill. But that's the way Illinois works. We know that. Anyway, any other comments?
Well, I'll just make a quick comment. There, and Director Temple pointed it out very well, this is still early in the game, and as a legislature is trying to clean up what they did, this should be about community safety and community concerns, and those who think it's a big revenue loss that we're going to have, there's actually more expense involved in trying to manage it, and we don't know what those numbers are yet, so it's well worth letting others. My day job is IT. We don't like to be bleeding edge technology, and in this case, I don't think we need to be the leader in testing out what this impact has in our community. There's still a lot to be learned, and I'd rather not put our citizens through that.
Anyone else?
Well, you know, I too would like to thank those that took the time to come out. Being a village trustee and making these type of decisions is really not as easy as it looks, right? There are a lot of, a lot goes into the decision making. And, you know, we pull from our own research, we pull from staff's opinion and research. In this case, our awesome police department. We listen to the voices of the community. We take our own perspectives and opinions, and, you know, ultimately, our decision needs to be based on what is best for the greater good of our community. That's what we were elected to do. As it relates to the revenue, it's been discussed that, you know, by and large, the issues and challenges that come with hosting this type of business in our town outweighs the financial gain. And as hopefully most people know, I am a big proponent of our youth. And increasing the accessibility and the resale to teenagers and young adults is something that is concerning. And, you know, we can only control what we can control here in Bolingbrook. We cannot control what other communities are doing. And to say that, you know, other communities are doing it and we should do it, I think we have to do what's best for Bolingbrook, and accessibility is a factor. We lock our vehicles and we lock our doors of our homes, not because we don't think anyone can get in them if they really want to. If someone wants to get in your vehicle and steal your vehicle, they still can, even with the doors locked and alarm on. But it makes it tougher. It makes it more difficult. And I think for our youth and the benefit of our children growing up in this town, if we can make it just a little tougher, I think that's something we should do. So this trailer bill is going to be interesting, as mentioned, to understand how that impacts this law, and for Bolingbrook to be able to sit back and assess and better assess. I think it cannot hurt. It can only help. And we can always revisit this at a later time if we so choose. So at the end of the day, we should do what's going to preserve our amazing family and community atmosphere that we have here in Bolingbrook. And those are just my thoughts. Thank you.
I'll just add really quickly, I've had the chance on several occasions to chat with Director Teppel on the subject. This isn't something that was only made available at the point when the Bolingbrook, Village of Bolingbrook decided to put it on the agenda. This is something that we've been discussing for quite a while. I've been researching, personal research. I've heard from several folks. I want to let you hopefully know that our contact information is on that village website for a reason. Public comment is great, and it's obviously welcomed. I will tell you, on our village business cards, our home addresses are on there. So I hope you reach out at any point. When you see things happening within the state that you think are going to impact our village, that's fine to wait until it's on the agenda. But if you have a pro, a con, a feeling, an opinion, reach out to us. All of our information's on there. And I hope that as the next important topic, maybe it's homeless youth, maybe it's hunger, that we can get as much excitement around that topic as we did about cannabis dispensaries here in Bolingbrook.
Anyone else? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
No.
Well, Bob, I only encourage you, since you want to have a referendum, that you ask your legislators why they chose to skip that little step in the process.
But that doesn't
And I'd
mean
be curious about
that doesn't
their
mean
response.
we can't have one.
True.
Doesn't mean we have to follow their quarterly.
Did you say 4?
I did.
Is that a quote?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll let them know.
Next, an ordinance providing for the issuance not to exceed of $25,300,000 worth of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2019A of the Village of Bolingbrook, Will and DuPage County, Illinois, and providing for the levy and collection of direct annual tax for the payment of the principal and interest of said bonds. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion trustee Jesuit, seconded trustee Lawler. This ordinance authorizes the sale of up to $25,300,000 in GO bonds. These bonds will refinance the general obligation bonds issued in 2010. There is no new money, capital projects, or additional debt being incurred here. This is a refinancing of existing debt. The refinance is based on the current lower interest rates. The final maturity date for the bonds remains 2035, so the debt isn't being extended. The present value savings to the village based on current interest rates is estimated to be about $2.5 million. Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Just I want to ask the board, I heard a motion, but I didn't hear a second. Who's second? Michael?
Second, Lawler.
Thank you. Okay. Trustee Zarate?
Yes.
Trustee Lawler?
Yes.
Trustee Basta?
Yes.
Trustee Watts?
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano?
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz?
Yes.
Well, there's nobody from the press here to my knowledge, except those are by classified ads. Anybody from the audience would like to make any more comment, public comment? Yes, Julie? Have to.
Well, guys, as the Spanish community, I'm so glad I came today to hear this. I'm glad that my Jenny is 11-year-old, is not here, okay? She's always with me. And thinking about this, she will immediately say no to something like that. I'm surprised that most of you are against the money that provides from selling the marijuana. And, but also I'm surprised that you are pro, okay? Why? My question at the beginning is like, I never received a vote to say what the community want, but I'm surprised that the government doesn't want the money. They want the safety of our community. And I have a friend here that he's from Chicago and say, guys, don't have another Chicago here, right? That's his perspective. And, but I see your point too. I'm Mexican, and mostly in your TV you see we are the drug dealers and everything. You're taking the jobs away now, right? So, but I'm thinking about my daughter. That's the only thing I'm thinking. If I'm thinking about money and have a dispensary, I will go for it, you know? But I'm thinking of my daughter, and it's hard. It's a very tough decision, but I'm so glad that you guys are against something that is gonna destroy your community. I know it's out there. But I will ask you to consider that to get along with the train, to be in the same track for the best of our community, and not for the money. That's the only thing I want to say, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why not, right?
Why not?
Dorothy Andrews. Is this on? Okay. I actually work at Valley View School District, and I do see the difference in the children and how this is a positive environment in the community. And I feel like I am not for it, by the way, and it doesn't matter to me about the money, because the money can come from any venue that we have in Bolingbrook, because Bolingbrook is Bolingbrook, and that's what we do. People come here for the change of life. They come here to make a new start, such as myself. I'm from the city, Humboldt Park. If I want to go back to Humboldt Park and get what I need, I can. But I came to Bolingbrook to establish a different type of lifestyle for me and my children. So I'm not for it, by the way. And I'm hoping that you are not for it as well, because right now with our youth, even the impression that they get, it's okay for the adults to do it, so why can't I? And also with all the things that are going on with the guns coming into the schools and all of the other stuff that's going on with handguns and stuff, I just find that it would just alarm the kids to be even more wanting to do craziness, as we would say as adults, and not realizing their right state of mind with this cannabis or whatever marijuana. By the way, I never inhaled. In case anybody wanted to know. But I just thought that I would put it out there that I think it's best to keep Bolingbrook the great, famous place that it is, that is the recognition that it has always been, the professionalism that it carries, And yes, I mean, if you need to put it to a vote, put it to a vote, but that's just my stance on it. I want to keep Bolingbrook the great village that it is to be here. A lot of people are coming here right now to establish their households, bring their kids. The parks are now starting to form up and things of that nature, so they're not here for that reason. So I think we should keep Bolingbrook just the way it is.
Thank you.
Dorothy is also a member of the Bolingbrook Park Board.
Yes.
Excuse me, well, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you guys for your vote. Director Jankowicz, I wish you would change, like, your vote to everybody else's. As the lady said, I came to Bolingbrook, I'm the west side. Back, you can buy, as what you guys call it, marijuana, weed, or whatever. You can buy a jab all day long. You know, only thing you need is a nickel, $5. You can drive the city, buy it. I brought my daughter out here as a young child for a better life in Bolingbrook. She graduated college, psychology. Guess what she does now? She counsels kids that's going to jail for smoking weed, doing drugs. Right now, she's going for a bachelor's. And so I hear these stories every day. These kids are, what they're going to do to go get high? They're robbing people. I'm a contractor. They're breaking in homes. They don't care what they have to do. They're just looking for the next high. And so, you know, that was a great vote. I spoke to Director Watts about it a little while ago. And I'm so glad that the director did his research, because do you guys know that even with the adults, they don't pay rent, they go buy drugs. And now we have, in Denver, the homeless rate has doubled. Why? Because they have legal marijuana. So I want to thank you guys again, because we don't need it in our community. This is a great community, and we want to keep it as is or make it even better and safer. We definitely don't want it around our parks, our schools, and our kids. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Roger, can I just say one thing, please? The reason I voted no is because I really think we do a disservice to our constituencies, all our residents, by not having an open forum and letting them come in and express themselves.
That's what we had
That
tonight,
no
Bob.
vote does not mean I don't want a dispensary.
That's what we had tonight, Bob. Open forum.
But it wasn't announced as a public forum.
I saw it in multiple Facebook pages,
But that's not a...
but that's what we cite that same source for polls, so why can't we cite it for?
But this is an issue that's not going to go away. We both know that. This issue is going to get worse, not better, as it grows and becomes very prevalent throughout the state of Illinois. And if we can do an educational program to all our residents and say, here's why we do this, here's why we don't do this, and so on, I think we're doing a better job as trustees when we do that.
It's about the
My
kids.
no vote doesn't mean I want a dispensary here. It just means I think we need to go further
Retail sales,
on what we do.
dispensaries, medical, Bob.
Can I just say something?
It's like a liquor store. It's like a little liquor store. That's what we're saying no to.
Oh, I know what it is.
Like a tobacco store.
You
That's
thought-
what we're saying
you
no
thought it
to.
was
Kids
banning this-
cannot go in there.
The use.
Kids cannot, it's all
No,
about the kids,
that I
in my
understand.
opinion. It's about the kids.
Can
That's
I-
what it is.
Can I say something? Sorry I didn't say anything earlier, but it's just like everybody said so much. But I did come here from Chicago, and I know what's out there. It's everywhere. Drugs are everywhere. And I wanted my kids to come out here so that they could live a better life. Sure, there's drugs all in our schools, there's drugs, down the corner. What scares me is the children that are living in everywhere that we live. There's one drug dealer here, there's one drug dealer there. These kids are vulnerable. Thank God we have something like H2O, where H2O helps these kids with problems with drugs, with mental issues, all these things that are helping these kids in high school that are trying, and we're trying to break it to the grammar schools as well. But we do care. We do care, and that's why we're up here. We're willing, like we said, we're willing to listen to everybody's opinion. But safety first. We love our children, and we don't want them to get caught up in a vicious circle of these drugs, because who wants to see their son, daughter, grandson dead because they overdosed on just not marijuana, cocaine, all the stuff that they have out there? You know, so all we're just trying to do is protect our children, family members, parents that are doing this as well. The kids are seeing this, so they're saying, hey, if they could do it, I could do it. We just want to help this community. That's all we want to do. We do not want to have to see our kids be addicted to drugs. And, you know, unfortunately, everybody has an opinion, but we are here to help. We are not here to hurt anybody. So thank you.
I have one more comment, and we'll have it adjourned, but some of the people on Facebook said, well, we have alcohol, why don't you ban that? Alcohol goes back hundreds of years in this country. And since I've been liquor commissioner the past 34 years, we've gone from multiple bars, which just were bars. We have 2 now, Clementines and Tailgaters, both of which predated me in terms of having liquor, or that kind of establishment. We have cut back on a number of bars. We haven't issued a liquor store license in years. Yes, we have issued a number of licenses for restaurants where the sale of alcohol is ancillary to the fact it's a restaurant. But as far as bars, we don't have any more than the 2, and when they go away, they'll probably go away as bars. It'll become a restaurant requiring the sale of food. Is 60%?
60%.
60% of their revenue has to be from food. We also, like I said, so we've changed that. Restaurants have them, but as far as a pure bar, we don't have those anymore. So we've tried to cut back on that and clean that up too. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Lawler, second trustee Basta. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We stand adjourned.